On the agenda tonight, we're going to be having a listen to Bonnie Raitt singing Just Like That. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So we have had a look at Bonnie in the past, of course, on the channel. I think it was probably a few years ago now, but this is bringing us up to date as of April 2022, because that's when this song was released. And the reason that I'm featuring this tonight is because I get a lot of requests to check out different videos, not always to analyze them, but just to check out this new singer or band who might be on YouTube. And pretty much every video that I'm checking out now that's released nowadays, maybe in the last 5 years, have pitch corrected vocals. And the problem with that is that I personally can hear the computer processing that has been applied, so it changes the sound of the vocal, and it's on a fundamental level, and it's something that I know a lot of other people can't hear, that don't have particularly sensitive ears or might not be in production and be able to hear that that note has been manipulated and wasn't actually sung. So when I hear something that is totally as it was sung into the microphone, of course now it stands out, especially when talking about a song released in 2022, because Bonnie's vocal here is great because it's totally unedited. And what's even better is that it won the Grammy for Song of the Year. So not only has a song that hasn't been pitch corrected done very well and people like it, but it's actually won an award, which for me is great because there's such a tendency to rely on technology nowadays for singers, and a lot of the art form of music is getting lost, but you can always rely on Bonnie Raitt to keep things just as they are, authentic, and be, you know, artistically credible and all those kinds of things, just taking it down to the root of what music is. So we're going to have a listen to this song. So if you haven't heard this song before, I suggest that you click on the link in the description below and listen to it from beginning to end, because I am going to be jumping into this, and that's not how you want to listen to this, because it is really a story, of course, and you've got to be able to appreciate that story uninterrupted. But I will be jumping into this, giving you fair warning, but let's have a listen.
I watched him circle around the block, finally stopped at mine. Took a while before he knocked, like all he had was time. Excuse me, ma'am, maybe you can help. The directions weren't so clear. I'm looking for Olivia's aunt. They said I might find her here. Well, I looked real hard and asked him what she's got he's looking for. Said there's something I think she'd want to know, and I let him in the door. It's not like me to trust so quick, it caught me by surprise. But something about him gave me there in his eyes. Just like that, your life can change. If I hadn't looked away, my boy might still be with me now. He'd be 25 today. No knife can carve away the stain, no drink can drown regret. They say Jesus brings you peace and grace. Well, he ain't found me yet.
I'm just going to jump in here because, I mean, the beauty of this song, the way that it's been put together, the way that it's been performed, is just its simplicity and its subtlety. Because when you're listening to this, obviously the guitar's going to be taking your main focus from that instrumental perspective, because we've got this pedaling between what I believe would be the low E string, but actually detuned to D. It sounds pretty heavy. So it means that we've got that very low D jumping over to the open D string and pedaling between those two, played finger style. And I mean, that's really subtle. I love the way that that's been pieced together, because we have that little hammer on as well of what may be the G string second fret, but it gives you that little reference point within the guitar playing, in effectively giving you a little riff that you can hang on to. But then as we progress through the song, you'll hear, I think, a really subtle bit of pedal steel in there, but it's so well put together. There's obviously a lot of reverb on the sound, so it makes it, drift in the mix. And it's great because then we have an organ sound that comes in. Again, these are really subtle details that you're not really going to take in when you're listening to the song because of Bonnie's vocal being so up front, but you've got all of these different characters just playing their roles underneath this lead vocal, and it's so well pieced together and so stripped back that even with that guitar, we occasionally get a bit of fret buzz, or, a note that hasn't been quite fretted. But this is the point that it's just going back to what music is. Music isn't perfect. This is the point when we get into Bonnie's vocal. I mean, she's got this, of course, conversational quality to her voice, but it is paired with great technical ability, as we know from previous videos where we've looked at Bonnie, but just this sense of pitch that she has, which is really accurate, but she blends it into this talking, this delivering of the story of the song. It's all kind of intertwined with great pitch accuracy and appreciation of dynamic range, all of these things that she just does naturally. This dipping in and out of pitch, just naturally, depending on what Bonnie's singing and the meaning of the lyrical content as well. That's a huge part of it. When we start the song,
I watched him circle around the block.
Just listen to that as a vocal phrase. Na 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 na. I mean, it's so accurate, and this is the point that it's not going to be like this for the whole song, because you need expression as well as pitch accuracy. When I say you need it, thankfully, it has been recognised, and it has won an award above other songs that might have used pitch correction on the vocals. This has been given the stage and the award for just showing what music is. It's an art form, and this is a great example of it.
Finally stopped at mine.
And you heard right at the end there how we have that light and shade. And when I say light and shade, I'm talking about the expression between being accurate pitch-wise. We'll listen to the whole phrase in terms of real accuracy pitch-wise, and then expression at the end.
I watched him circle around the block, finally stopped at mine.
And that mine at the end is so loose, but it's because it's the end of the sentence, and it's something that brings it into that conversational space. You're blending, or Bonnie here is blending the way people talk with singing. And that's huge, being able to do that in a natural way, because if you try to learn to do that or try to teach a computer to do it, you'd probably end up with na 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 na, and the second part would be totally irrelevant. But this is the point, that she's not hitting pitch on that last note. I mean, she is hitting a rough pitch, but this is the point. It's a blending of a pitch with expression, and that's what is so difficult to do just for other singers to have this kind of expression in their voice. But then thinking about getting a computer to do it or using a plugin to do this, yeah, you're talking about now in impossibility.
Took a while before it knocked, like all he had was time.
And that time, this vibrato that she's got in there, again, that's always going to add something extra to the voice, and it definitely does here, because it's a little bit more dramatic, a little bit more a little bit wider than just having a really subtle one. Again, pitch accuracy here, E4, F sharp 4, absolutely bang on with the slide up. So listen for where she just kind of almost dips in and then out of pitch.
Excuse me, ma'am, maybe you can help. The directions weren't so clear.
Vocal fry as well. So clear. It's kind of in that kind of area.
I'm looking for Olivia Zan.
Especially there. Zan, Zan. Obviously in my voice, because my voice goes a lot deeper. But you can hear that vocal fry within the sound. Again, it's taking that sound to the lowest place dynamically and the most connective place, because that sound, I always say in other videos, is the basis for the cry in the voice. When you go there, it's going to draw everybody into your performance, but also just has this emotional connection that you can't really put your finger on as to why it happens.
They said I might find her here.
And again, look at this, between the F3 and the F sharp 3. So we're now between notes. So she's just left that pitch accuracy because she's just finishing off the end of the sentence and just the end of almost that paragraph of the story. I mean, it's another way to look at it, that great singers like Bonnie, they're telling you a story quite literally how you would read a story, leaving breaks for the end of paragraphs and at the end of a phrase that might be a quote from somebody saying something. As this is, she's putting the expression of the person talking into the song, into the performance while singing, but blending it all together. It really is an art form.
Well, I looked real hard and asked him what she's got he's looking for.
Again, I mean, what an example that is of first half musically, strict with pitch, and then the expression to give the lyrical content a little bit more weight, a little bit more meaning, and just to get them to stand out, the words to stand out a little bit more because of how they've been sung. It's been more talked than sung.
Well, I looked real hard and asked him what she's got he's looking for.
And it's the exact opposite of pitch correction, and this is why I love it, because that whole last part, and by the way, you've already noticed, but for people that haven't seen one of my videos before, I have isolated Bonnie's vocal and run it through pitch monitoring software so that we can see all the notes that she's hitting and how she's hitting them, because with pitch correction and auto-tune, a pitch correction will generally be a little bit more subtle. You'll have all of these notes over these lines, but this whole second phrase, you can see that it hasn't even really registered as any note because it is all over the place, because it's just talking. The notes are changing so quickly because they're not being held, it's not singing.
Said there's something I think she'd want to know when I let him in the door. It's not like me to trust so quick, caught me by surprise.
And you might be able to hear that subtle instrumentation coming in the background that I mentioned before, so listen out for that as we listen through. I also love the way that the guitar, where Bonnie ascends to the F sharp 4, you can hear we get, I think, a little slide, and the guitar part is literally copying, mirroring Bonnie's vocal as she goes up. So you get a really nice blend of obviously the notes from the chord being played fingerstyle here, but it all makes it relevant to each other, and then we have this really nice underlayer of keys. I believe it's an organ sound that's going to be coming in.
But something about him gave me ease, right there in his eyes.
And there it kind of sounds like pedal steel just sliding up and having a lot of reverb on the sound to give it that acoustic space, or that illusion of the acoustic space that it's being played in being really large, but it just adds atmosphere to it.
Just like that, your life can change if I hadn't looked away. My boy might still be with me now, he'd be 25 today. No knife can carve away the stain, no drink can drown regret. They say Jesus brings you peace and grace. Well, he ain't found me yet.
We're going to listen on, because this is where we left it.
Na, 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 na. Na, 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 na. Na, 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 na. Sat down and took a deeper breath and looked right in my face.
Again, listen to the way that pedal steel's just coming into the mix and then leaving the mix, and the organ that we had there was so much more prominent on the na-na-nas. So again, from a production side of things, this is just great to listen to because it's so subtle, but that's the point, that we're not compressing everything here to within an inch of its life. We're leaving the dynamic range in there, which is another thing that can get lost nowadays in the current climate of the music industry, mixing, production, mastering, just boosting volumes and squeezing all of the dynamic range and expression of the instruments as well as the vocal if you're then applying pitch correction. So this is really going back to how things used to be, and the ironic thing is that this might be seen as something kind of crazy and new. It's like, oh wow, not using pitch correction and not over compressing instruments, and what's going on here? Why does it sound so different to modern day songs? It's because, well, it's just using the talent and ability of musicians and a producer who is serving the music, not trying to hit a particular output level of decibels and trying to make your music louder than somebody else's music.
I heard about the son you lost, how you left without a trace. I spent years just trying to find you so I could finally let you know it was your son's heart that saved me, and a life you gave us both.
I mean, it's just a great song lyrically as well. It's a great story, and a story that will connect to a lot of people as well. And just from the instrumental point of view, don't let that really subtle hi-hat and foot pedal fly under your radars, because that's just keeping everything going in the background. And it might be more prominent with my setup here because I have a sub, so it means that I'm picking up all of the lower frequencies, but you can definitely hear a really subtle, soft foot pedal going off in the background.
Just like that, your life can change. Look what the angels send. I lay my head upon his chest, and I was with my boy again. Well, I spent so long in darkness, I never thought the night would end. But somehow grace has found me, and I had to let him in. La, 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 la.
And that's the kind of thing, just with these na-na-nas, the pitch accuracy of them wouldn't be allowed nowadays, I don't think. I say, this is the point. The whole point of this video is, by me just saying that this wouldn't be allowed nowadays, but it has been released as this, and it's won a Grammy. So it shows that there is still a space for genuine music and just genuine talent to be at the forefront of music, to just have a spotlight on it, that this isn't relying on something in order to change the voice that the person couldn't produce in the first place. And the same thing goes for, you know, the instrumentation. We've got great fingerstyle playing going on here. We've got really subtle pedal steel going on. We've got genuinely great musicianship, the way that it's being played dynamically. And when I'm talking about these na-na-nas, you'll see that we are really accurate with pitch here. And then, you know, here, the F sharp 4, we didn't hit it, but it didn't matter. And here we're between the F sharp 3 and the G3 until we get up to the G3 right at the end. It gives you the impression of the song, or should I say the story, being told by the person who has answered the door. So, and when you're thinking about the story of this song, the lyrical content of the song, you don't assume that the person answering the door is, you know, a world-renowned singer who can hit loads of pitches and have loads of stylizations in their voice. Bonnie is taking on the character of the person telling the story. And again, that is an art form to be able to do that. And that's why these notes don't sit where they are, because Bonnie is not only singing this just the most authentic way possible, but she's singing it as somebody else. And I know it sounds crazy to say that, but she's applying all of her ability to tell the story of the song through somebody else's eyes, and therefore through somebody else's voice. Na, 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 na. And again, that wouldn't normally get through, it being flat of the G4, but it's because it adds to the character. Na, na, na. I love that little bit at the end where it's almost like, I don't know, letting the note just go. It's not actually letting the note go anywhere, it's letting the expression go anywhere. Have a listen again. It's kind of na na na, and it's just a slide into nothing, but it's exactly what the song needs and exactly just how it feels. It's great because you know that this is the performance that you would hear live, because this hasn't been edited. Na, 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 na. Na, 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 na. And there we have it. By the way, I love that lead guitar tone. And when you're listening to the way that it's being played, the lead guitar that now comes in, again, that's going to be separate from the pedal steel that we had earlier and the fingerstyle playing that's going on. This is now a designated lead guitar with obviously great playing dynamically, because the way that the guitar comes in and out, it's not a mixing thing, it's the way that it's been played.
Na, 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 na.
Listen how that first phrase is slightly more up front, and then the slide down then becomes more subtle.
Na, na, na,
And then we're about to have, again, a bend dynamically that's played more aggressively.
na.
And even the end of that run after the bend, it's so subtle, and it makes the bend stand out even more, and why this song just stood out to me looking at loads of different songs and just getting used to pitch corrected vocals. And then all of a sudden I hear a vocal that is literally the person doing what I'm doing here, talking into a microphone, and there's no filter, there's no computer processing getting in the way, so we can appreciate this subtlety and the subtlety of the expression of the voice, because it is endless, it's infinite. And this is why when something's put in between that and it is filtered, that you lose a percentage of that. How much percentage, I don't know, but for me it's quite a considerable chunk, because the first thing that I hear on a pitch corrected vocal is the pitch correction. So you can't get more detached from the vocal than that, to hear something else first and then hear the vocal afterwards, and you don't ever really get to hear the original vocal because you're always hit with this filter first. Great to get up to date with Bonnie, but even better to hear a song being released like this in the current day music industry, and it's kind of a cherry on top that it won a Grammy as well. So as always, keep the suggestions and requests coming in the comment section below. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and let me know what you guys think, as always, and I'll catch you guys at the next one. Rock!